Okay, it being 6:30, I'll call the facilities meeting to order. Let the roll call that all board members are present. So, first thing we need to do is approval of the minutes from June 30th, June 23rd meeting and the special meeting of June 30th. So you all were mailed a copy of those minutes. Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made? If not, is there a motion to accept both sets of minutes?
I so move.
The motion has been made. Is there a second? Been made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Minutes stand as presented. Okay. Public comment.
I received no public comment.
Okay, and there's nobody here from the public, so items placed at the request of the chair, the green energy update, the long-term county plan. Don?
Well, we didn't do too much this last month, but actually John did. He prepared this based on what Tim had showed him. It's a spreadsheet that lists every facility, government center, every facility has a sheet like this, and we'll keep track of what we're doing all the way along. So it's
Okay.
And that's.
Could you move your mic just a little bit closer, please?
Oh, okay. We were going to have a meeting. We're planning on doing that this month because the fair and things kind of kept everybody busy. One thing I do want to ask is what the committee thinks of, should we form a group, a task force to work on this? Now, the city of Menominee did that, and Eau Claire County did the same thing, and the city of Eau Claire, I think, did. And I'm just wondering if we should, how we go about it, and it would probably consist of some people from this committee, the staff, some concerned citizens, and then we would work through a long-term plan for not only the, and we bring in people, maybe even from hopefully a couple of the villages. And then this would also, like our resolution says, we're going to work with other entities to develop a long-term plan for the whole county. So I was wondering, do we do this, or should we look at it first, or should we start with the county first with this and then go forward? I guess I'm looking for suggestions.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I'm all supportive of it. I don't know how much extra work we can put on the staff, though. That's the one thing, because their plate's pretty full. But I think it would be a good thing to have an ad hoc committee or a subcommittee, because it is Dunn County. So it's all at Dunn County, and to have some outside agencies involved, I think would be a good thing. What does the rest of the board think? Okay, I'll let you think about it.
I'll throw my 2 cents in here. And, I think the spreadsheet that John put together based off of what I had thrown together last time, just to kind of get everybody up to speed and thinking about it. I mean, it's got information down the left-hand side. Each one of these, there will be a tab on this spreadsheet for every building in the county. Some of the information on here is, what's the heating system on that building? What's the cooling system? So it says, there's a column here. What's the type? Is it electric? Is it natural gas? Is it geothermal? Is a separate one on here. And then it's got windows. How many windows are in the building? What type of windows are there? Are there single pane, double pane, triple pane windows? And as you go across here, it goes, what's the number of the windows? And then it goes, can we upgrade? Can we upgrade from a 2-pane or from a single pane to a 2-pane? What's the cost associated with that? So a lot of this is going to have to be filled out by Scott and John in regards to that. And my personal opinion is until we have that information put into this spreadsheet and what the costs are associated with that, then we start to do some planning. And when we start to do some planning, I can see us having, maybe a subcommittee, a get together to talk about, are we, what budget years are we going to plan this in? And we can't really plan that until we know how much it's going to cost to do it.
So that would establish a baseline to work off of.
And obviously there are some buildings that are already, the energy efficient of the heating system is, 98% or 99%. And if you're going to try and upgrade from 98 to 99, it's just your savings is not going to be enough to justify the upgrade.
Yeah, awesome.
So, and one of the columns that we're going to have on here is, we'll go through each building and put the information in here. And as long as I see information coming into the spreadsheet, I'm fine with, waiting for them. I know their staff is busy. There's lots of things going on in the county. But as long as we see the information coming in on this spreadsheet, and maybe what we should do is just put a point of review for each month to kind of review where we are with this spreadsheet. And I know as the information comes in, John could probably send the spreadsheet out to us beforehand so that we can actually look at it, see what kind of information is in there. And then, estimate to upgrades on here. That says, and then one of the columns is, okay, what are our potential savings? If we go from current to a new, what are our estimate savings associated with that? And then what's the budget amount? What would be the cost to do it? That says, and then we go, okay, are we going to start putting those in budget years? So now we can start planning. We can plan and we can track all the information from this spreadsheet. And John said that he will actually create a front page to this that will kind of be a summary, because some of the things are already done. Geothermal is in over at the neighbors. They have double pane windows at the neighbors. They have good insulation. Maybe some of the things that we don't, and I like the suggestion that Ron made about the potential of looking into putting trees up. Trees provide foliage in the summer and help keep the building a little cool, and that says then it sheds the leaves in the wintertime so that sun can get into the building and get to the building and help warm it up. So those are a lot of things that are on here. So I would suggest we hold off on forming a subcommittee until we get more information in this spreadsheet, and then we could start doing more planning in regards to, okay, this is what it's going to cost to upgrade. Then we're going to have to start doing budget planning. And then I think we need, probably at that point in time, we need a subcommittee.
Okay.
But until we get more information on this spreadsheet, I think it might be a little bit premature to my feeling is it might be a little premature to set up a subcommittee this early in the process.
Makes sense to me.
There's one other comment we could think about a little bit. If we would form a committee of some sort that had, people from outside Menominee or outside the confines of these buildings, it'd be nice to have a facilitator, somebody that has a little bit of professional experience in running plans like this. That might cost some money. And then when the budget comes up for next year, we might want to consider trying to put some money in the budget. Planning ahead a little bit for next year. Does that make sense? We might be able to get it, because when that, I'm going to check with, can't think of his name now, but when they had the capo, they had a facilitator from this group in Eau Claire that we contribute money to each year, so they maybe don't charge very much. Or maybe it's for
West
nothing.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, West, yeah. And that, they got their facilitator from there. And I was on the committee for the, when Menominee came up with their plan, and a facilitator really helps because they keep things moving. And so we ought to kind of remember that when we start planning the budget. And I could check to see what they have in the way of that kind of capability too.
Sure.
So
Okay.
otherwise, we can go this way for a while. I'm happy with that.
Sounds good, and we will have it on the agenda every month for
Yeah,
review
please-
as to
please
where
keep
we're
it
at,
on there. Yeah,
what's been added, subtracted.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay, item 6, staff and recreation reports, fair and fair board. What can you report, Deb?
Fair's over.
Fair is over, okay.
After- Oh, gosh. I haven't figured out the days now. I can't remember. But I did a modified through last year.
Deb, can you speak into your mic more, please?
It's not on.
Oh, maybe
Push the button.
Gotta hold it. There you go.
Okay, it helps if I turn it on. So the fair is over. We had a great fair. It was nice to see so many happy people and smiles on everybody's faces. It's probably the first year that we have not had very many complaints. People were happy. Crowds were good. For example, on Dollar Day, they rode over 17,000 rides during that time period that the carnival was open, which was like a record, he said, for his carnival. It's like, that's a lot of rides. Just like everybody in the whole world, staffing for him was an issue. He was a little bit short-staffed, but they managed to get everything done. Likewise, our cleaning crew kind of quit on Friday before the fair because they couldn't get enough volunteers. So put a little extra pressure on Scott's team to help us out a little bit with some cleaning and so forth. Our gates were up. Our grandstand was up. Food, I don't know for sure about food yet, and I don't have the final numbers yet. We're still crunching numbers. Ron was a real asset to the fair board this year. This is the first year that he actually got his feet wet and jumped in full force. So appreciate Ron. He couldn't be there all the time last year and the year before. So this guy here, you tell him to help or ask him if he can help you. And it's just like, this is what I need. And he like figures it out. So I really appreciated his help to do that. I told him there's a big barrel over in the other building that's got pipes in it. Can you put up a shelter? Got it done. So. And Scott's team was new people on there. With Bob and Mike have been there for so long, and of course they retired, and new people on his team, and they stepped up to the plate, asked a lot of questions. There were a lot of things that that Bob and Mike did automatically, so it was like, yep, got to do that piece, like put up the carbon monoxide detectors in the barn and do little things like that aren't typical things in their job. So they stepped up big time. Scott kept checking in and making sure everything was going good and what we needed help with. And everybody banded together. We have a pretty new fair board. It was myself and I guess Ron had been on a couple of years, but hadn't really been able to be there. And everybody else was Martha, but she has a new position at school, so she wasn't there till Friday. So got a lot of rookies on our team. And in my head, I have scrambled brains, but nobody on the outside world knew that was happening. The meat animal sale, as you know, MAP came under the fair's umbrella this year. Turned out to be a really great thing that happened. There was a lot less stress, a lot less concern about things and wondering what was going on. It was a record-breaking sale. We only had 79 animals in the sale, where we're usually close to 100. Took in $257,000. And I believe the top hog sold for $43 a pound. It average pound for beef was $5.72, swine was $9.58, sheep $10.83, and goats $10.44. So, and I don't know if I said 79, we had 69 animals, so I might have misspoken. So appreciate all the buyers that came and bidders that came to the sale, but I'll have more information next month after we're only 2 days off, I guess. I can't remember what day it is. They all run together. So, but it was great. So I hope you were all able to come out and spend a little time out there. Tractor pull was super. We had tons of compliments on the track this year. Red Cedar Racing, I have to give them credit. They put a lot of upgrades while they were off last year, and got new clay on the track. And We've always had like a weak spot at the end, and I talked to a lot of the guys that pulled, and they were very, very happy with the track this year. So, but all in all, it was a great fair.
Good. Yeah, I was there on Thursday and I thought the rides looked nice. I thought it was a nice carnival, you know? So it, you know, I thought the crowds was, it was Thursday afternoon. And, yeah, I thought it was okay, you know? Food was good at the 4-H stand, so that's always a plus. So, yeah, I was impressed with the fair. I thought it was good.
Thank you.
I saw some comments out on Facebook too, and it says all the comments I saw were all positive, so. Good job, Deb. Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Okay, my computer crashed. Okay, well, on to the next one. Facilities and parks, operations. Who wishes to speak?
Good evening, everyone. Just looking at what it seems like it's been a long time since I've been at a facilities meeting with having vacation and coming back and all the stuff going on. I've been busy continuing with the transfer station of liquidating all the information or all the items there, getting those on auction, selling them off. That's all going really good. The roof at the Judicial Center is progressing very nicely. That is, they're just switching over to the judicial part of it. They've got the jail part done, both the upper and lower level of the jail done. So that's cruising along. I don't have an exact date when they'll be finished with it, but they're moving along really well. That's going smooth. All of our other projects kind of haven't progressed because of getting ready for the fair. That ends up being a 3-week process with the fair set up, the actual fair week, and then fair tear down. So the guys worked hard at, like Deb said, getting things set up, not knowing exactly what they needed to do. The fair members, the fair board members helped out. Everyone involved with the fair gave the guys direction of how to handle things or where to put things. They got them there. You guys worked with everybody to move things as they needed on a daily basis. They all worked very well. I'm very proud of my staff being able to handle anything that was given to them, whether it was an electrical problem or any other type of problem. They all handled it well. So that's a great facility staff. I'm very proud of them. That all worked good. Now they're in the process of tearing everything down, putting stuff away. We have the arena building, got that all swept out today. The city came in with their sweeper truck, vacuum truck, and got that all cleaned out. Tomorrow morning, all my guys are getting together, going there, and they're going to do all the cleaning of the Finetti building. So that building will be ready tomorrow to turn back over to hockey. They have a little bit of cleanup in the cattle barn yet, waiting on dumpsters from Menominee Disposal. I'm assuming they'll come pick those up tomorrow and put empty ones there, so we can continue with that and finish that. So it's going very good for turning it over. We usually, I think before we tried to turn it over in 3 days, and that was with 3 of us working 10-hour days. These guys are getting it done in that amount of time, and not 2 of them work 8-hour days, and the other one works 10s, and he was off on Monday. So they're doing great. A lot of stuff got moved and put away Sunday night even. So they got moved out of the way, so that just helped it with everything. We maintained the recycling trailer and the recycling stands and bags and stuff from solid waste. Our intention was to keep those from selling solid waste, getting rid of them, so that we could use them for the fair. We used them, and that really helped out because then people had a place to put that. And I think you have arrangements with Menominee Disposal is going to pick up all the recycling that's in the bags. They'll pick all that up. So that helped out. It didn't get put into the garbage in the landfill. So we'll retain those items for future use for the fair. Everything else seemed to go good. With the mess-ups with the cleaning and clean it, that stuff, people cleaning the bathrooms or cleaning up in the grounds. It all went really well, so that turned out very good. Other than that, everything is pretty much business as normal for our staff through work orders and maintaining everything the way it is.
Good, good. Any questions? Deb?
I mistakenly forgot John. Thank you, John, and the highway department for providing the roller and the skid steer and everything and for Bill coming back
Yeah,
and
we had a retiree come back to run the roller,
Oh,
for the tractor
nice.
pull.
Yep.
So
so he was more than happy to.
the fair has become a real good partnership. And I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, we've really working together and that's the way it should be.
Yep.
So
Good, good. Okay, let's see, operations, projects, facilities, fleet.
I'll touch on the facilities fleet here in a second. I'm gonna, got a couple little infos here on projects. The electrical vehicle charging stations for our new buses are in the process of being shipped. So as soon as we do receive those, then we're gonna coordinate with MJ Electric and Excel to get those installed. And then I was just gonna wonder what the group's take is on this. I've been approached by Dunn Energy, would like to install an electrical vehicle charging station near the intersection of Highway 64 and 25 up by our north shop. I'm in the information gathering process. They would provide everything to do this. They're just looking for a location to put it. So after I meet with them, we're just in the information gathering stage right now. I will bring it to the highway committee and then kind of involve facilities too. But I think it's a really great thing that they're willing to do everything and take care of all the costs. They're just looking for a location, piece of real estate to set this up. So I don't know why it makes it so appealing, but I said we're all ears, and I think that would be a great thing for us to provide some space up there. We have plenty of room, and if they take care of all the hardware part of it, I think it would be a great thing for the public to have access. If somebody's coming down 64 or going up 25 and needs to get a little charge on their electric vehicle, they would have another option, because you're kind of in the middle of God's country at that point. So I
Yeah.
just was wondering what your guys' thought. I think it's a great thing.
Well, I
And
think it's a great
if we
idea.
can work together with them on that, that would provide one more service for the community of Dunn.
Sure.
I guess I would never thought of that as a location though.
Yeah, and that's when we do meet, I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
how they came up
They
with.
must know what they're doing.
They
so.
approached Brent Miller and he came to me and he said, what do you think? And I said, yeah, I'm interested in sitting down with them. And I think both committees would give it its blessing and we can move ahead on it. So I said, let's schedule a meeting with Dunn and we'll sit down and see what we can hammer out.
Yeah, look forward to more details. But it does make sense. Yeah.
I like the idea, but there's lots of questions that come into my head. Is this something that we as a county are gonna pay for people to charge their vehicles? Like, how is it metered? How does a customer pay for the use of this charging station? I mean, it's basically a replacement for a gas station,
Yeah,
is what it
it's
is.
Right.
essentially
It's
a
an electric
gas
gas
pump for providing electricity. And like the ones at Quick Trip, it's basically pay at the pump.
It's a credit card.
Yeah,
isn't it?
slide your credit
Yeah.
card in, and I don't know if they also take cash. I'm assuming different machines, but the ones that I've seen, you basically pull up, you put your credit card in and swipe it, take the plug off the hanger, plug it into your car and sit and get your charge, go to the restroom, go eat. And when you come back, you're charged. And I believe it's metered at a certain rate and probably a service fee, a little handling fee on there, and then unplug and off you go.
But those are the questions that need to
Yeah,
be
those are
answered.
the questions we will get answered, and I'm assuming since Dunn Energy is kind of taking this lead, that they're gonna provide the big enough transformer, because when we work with Excel for the buses, three-phase power, big enough transformer to supply the charger. There's a bunch of infrastructure that goes along, and I'm sure they're gonna fill us in on that. But from what it sounded like, they're looking for a piece of real estate or a place to put this,
Okay.
and they said that they would incur all costs, but yes.
That
we will-
answers a bunch of my questions, obviously, then if it's paid with a debit or credit card, it says, obviously then that money is gonna be going to Dunn Energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I'd
all
ask
they're
them,
looking for from us or is real estate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Is this something that we lease to
That's
them?
another great question when we sit down to see how that's handled, because I'm assuming we're providing it for the residents of Dunn County, but there should also be something in it for us for working with this, providing the real estate. Are they gonna plow the snow, or when we plow our lot, do we have to plow the snow? So we'll have to get all those questions answered and that deal
Yeah, there's
hammered out.
probably some type of legal agreement.
Right, you'll have to go
be
through
written up
corporate.
from
Yep.
them.
Yeah,
So-
because is there a liability because it's on our property? So there's a lot of questions here, but we're in the preliminary of getting the meeting set up, so hopefully we can pursue that.
As you pointed out, is there a restroom that has to be put up there?
Yeah,
I doubt it.
that's another great question.
I doubt it.
Candy shop.
That's remote enough that,
Yeah, Mike.
Well, I think Tim asked about 3/4 of my questions, so I just so we don't oversimplify it, there is still who owns it, who leases it, who pays where, who pays the liability, all the things you just said, but I have all the same concerns.
And then I was curious, do they have other locations, whether they're county-owned property or not, but are they doing multiple locations throughout the county with this? So those are all things that I plan on asking when we get together.
They are putting one in at 29 Pines. Dunn Energy and Chippewa.
Yep.
Energy. They talked about it at the annual meeting, Dunn Energy's annual meeting, and they had the electric cars there. So they were naming other sites that they were looking at. And excited to get this program rolling.
Absolutely. It makes sense, like the truck stop or the rest area locations, because you're gonna stop there. You would have stopped and put gasoline in your vehicle. You might as well stop, charge it up, and then go in and have a bite to eat, use the restroom, grab some out of the convenience store, and then on your way.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. So, and with more electric vehicles, I'm assuming that there's gonna be a greater demand.
So when you buy an electric car, do they supply the charger for you at home?
Don, you might,
I don't think so. I think
So
you have, I
there's
think,
a guy, I mean,
maybe they do, I
there's
don't
a
know.
highway department guy that works up in that northern part. His wife works at the Dunn Energy. She has an electric car. She must have a charging thing there.
and I know some of them, a conventional extension cord works depending on what type of car, what type of charger, but a lot of them, I think you can just plug in a regular extension cord to feed it.
I suppose you get the right end to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That would be a question to ask your car dealer shopping.
If I buy an electric car, I'm just gonna just send money back to the electric company. Don't drive it.
Okay,
Facilities fleet. Scott and I met with Jen from Enterprise there last month. She followed up and we received a quote and an analysis on her recommendations. Scott and I will sit down now in August and kind of look at her recommendations, put a list of recommendations together that we feel we should do. And then probably in August, at August meeting, we'll bring them to the committee to see what the committee thinks. And then it doesn't sound like they're gonna be taking orders until September, October anyway.
okay.
So I think that'll give us plenty of time. I know on the trucks, I believe it's Ford is not taking orders until late September or October is the first build slots will be available then. So we'll work on that in the next month and then we'll report back in August on what our recommendation should be.
Yeah.
And have some financial numbers there to back up our decisions.
Okay. Next, any questions? If not, on to the next one, the monthly financial report. You were all mailed a copy of the financial reports. I didn't see anything that jumped out at me. Did anybody else? Any questions? I think things are, under control, being managed. Okay. And energy, I guess you probably already talked, or you got more.
The only thing is I haven't contacted Dave Bloom yet this month to see where he's at on all of our meter data from the neighbors, to see if he can get that report finished, and then maybe zoom in the next month or two on an update on that.
Right.
And then we can kind of tie that in with my fact finding mission on each of the buildings and what our options would be. And then I also included wind, because that might be an option. I threw that in on that spreadsheet. So when we start looking at some of these buildings, if there's some feasibility, we'll explore everything green.
Sure. Okay. Excellent. Yeah.
So do you still have on your agenda to look at the cost of splitting meters on the larger buildings?
Yes. When Dave gets his final report, we'll, depending on what he finds now, when he's splitting up all three buildings with the three different systems, then we will get a hold of an electrician. And if we have to split those meters out, we'll get an associated cost with that, so we could run basically three independents. Is that what you're referring to?
Right, so we can double our solar footprint, or
Yep.
double the number of panels we can put in. Instead of, what was it, 100K, we can go to 200K.
What we'll
What
do,
were we're limited right now,
100 kW.
100 kW. If we split the meters, we could potentially get 200 per building.
Yep. So we'll try to tie the cost of the splits in with Dave's report. So I'll touch base with him in the next week or so. And then we'll try to get that wrapped up and tie it into the spreadsheets.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, next item, corporate council report, there was none. Next one, the Wisconsin tracked wheelchair agreement update.
I picked that up when Bob Polson left last month, and I have not heard anything from Rotary, but I will get hold of their contact. The last that I had heard is the chair is done and ready to go. They will deliver. They were waiting on the enclosed trailer to house it and transport it. So if it's like everything else that we've been ordering lately, there's a slight delay. So hopefully in the next month or so, they get it. They're ready to bring it up here, ready to show us operations. We'll get the Rotary people trained. Scott and I will find a home for it, and we should be good to go.
Good, good, okay. Item number 7, consideration for actions to be taken by the committee, none. Item 8, considerations of reports, resolutions, or ordinances to be recommended to the county board, we have none. Brings us down to our next meeting date of August 25th, 2021. Is there anything else that needs to be discussed or questions asked? And if there's ever anything you guys want on the agenda, just let me know. And we'll, yeah, Mike.
So on one of our other committees, we're kind of going a little more in depth into the financials that apply to the committee that we're on.
Okay.
Have you thought about maybe getting a little more in depth into our budgets and looking at that? Or that's something that,
Well, I guess, how in depth do you want? I mean, I look over the numbers as they're coming out, and I don't see anything jumping out at me, but just how
well, and I guess we don't have the number of departments that the other committee has, so.
Right.
We've got 7 different departments that have budgets on.
Well, if there's anything that you do have a question on, bring it forward. I guess I don't know just how in depth. Yeah.
If I can comment, Chuck.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do over in highway now, we hired another administrative assistant when Doug Miller left the parts room. We hired Melissa Schultz here about 6 or 8 weeks ago. And her main function right now is we're trying to simplify things and have her track all the projects and all the tasks that go on. So we know labor, equipment, manpower, all the things. And we are trying to not necessarily dummy it down, but make it very simple, a simple Excel spreadsheet, kind of like I handed out there, something that's easy to read, where you get these SAP printouts. It's 25 sheets with all these budget lines and all this stuff that it's just a lot of information overload. We want something that's clear and easy to see. And my goal is when Missy gets highway up and running here, and it might be later this winter, but as soon as she gets a handle on highway, then we were going to kind of sit down. Scott's been working with John McLaughlin on weeding out from our old style budget to the SAP budget. There's a lot of stuff that can get plugged in on one line, but when it gets paid out on another. What we're trying to do is eliminate the confusion and make things more clear and give less selection. So if it's buildings and grounds, don't have 3 choices because Scott might budget in buildings and grounds XYZ, and then when it goes to get paid, it gets paid buildings and grounds A, B, C, D. And that's why sometimes our budgets look a little bit goofy because those lines, it gets budgeted on one line but taken out of another. So all of a sudden it looks like things have gone awry. So what we are trying to do, him and John have sat down, eliminated a lot of the lines that weren't used and just make it very simple. So you can grab it, look at it, understand it, and then stuff should be able to pop out if you do have questions. So that's the goal, is to try to make it, simplify it so it's easier to understand.
So when you guys look at the budget for 2022, you start looking at that, you're gonna probably see, if you compared it to last year or this year's budget, 21, you look at 22, you're gonna look at it and you're gonna see some changes that I changed some of the, say if there was a lot of money in one line item, I changed it and put it into a line item that made more sense to me, which I think would make more sense to you guys. Instead of just having a repair and maintenance to a building, split it up a little bit more to make it more sense. Some of the categories or the line items on the budget just didn't make sense of why they were getting paid out there. So try to change it up like that. Some of the line items that are on there don't need to be used, or they're blank. Those are taken out of there. They're blocked out so you don't see them. But working with John McLaughlin, I had him open up the whole thing so that I could look at all those line items and then decide which ones that make more sense to put money in. So it makes it easier for everyone to look at, I think.
I get the sense that it seems that they're very vague with what they say, and they never get very specific with where the money's going. It'll be a line, I can't, off the top of my head, I don't have a good example, but they're very vague. And you can never really get in to see where the money's being spent. Just seems that through most of our budgets. So I struggle with that.
Did somebody turn the volume up on their computer? Because I see everybody's muted, but it could be you turn your speakers on.
No, it's not doing it. Is it doing it now?
Yeah, it's still, I don't think I turned it on.
It sounds okay now.
Kind of what I'm looking for is a way to be able to really see what we're spending. We see a lot of headlines or a lot of this department, this line the lines don't
Yep.
ever break down to where it's going to. or
Where if you
where
see a
checks-
line that says like vehicle purchase, then you could say, okay, we bought 2 pickups, this makes sense, or lawn care equipment.
But they'll only say vehicle purchases. There's never explanations on what was purchased, or
Right.
it doesn't say whether we bought 2 or 7, and it's vehicle purchases for $200,000. So it's
It makes a
hard
difference
to-
if you buy 2 or if you buy
I don't
5,
think
if you're spending 200 grand.
Correct.
Yes.
And that's a complaint I have about the budget in general, is we can never really see what each line consists of. We see a line that says we spent $200,000 in this category, but what's in the category? We go to the sheriff's department, we see they spent this much on that department, or we go to the parks, we just see a flat number. We don't know what is in each category. I don't think that's gonna change, but
Okay, so you're requesting an itemized breakdown per line of each line?
I would like to be able to get to it, maybe not something that's printed out, but maybe that's something I need to talk to Keith about, how to see that. I don't think that's available to us, for us to see
Okay,
how lines are broke down more in depth.
It wouldn't be available to you. It's available in SAP. So say, for example, this budget here has all of your categories in there. You can see where money's spent. If I go into SAP and bring that up, I can click on that and see how much is spent in each category and what it was spent on. That's what you're looking for.
Absolutely, I
Yeah.
can do that in my accounting. I click on a category and then I go,
Yep.
wow, that category's got a lot of expenses. So
So,
why did we spend so much? So then you click on that
Yep.
and it opens up.
Yep. And
And,
that's what we can do as managers, and look at that part and see that.
but we as
So-
supervisors don't have the access to see what
Right.
the money's being spent on, and that's our job. Thank you for helping me explain it, because I've been trying to explain it for 6 months and I can
Yeah.
never explain it.
And
to-
so,
for
for
anyone.
example, like, if this is what we see in the budget, there's only this many categories, say, for this building, right? And so when all the items are open, there's that many. So there's more of them that are open up, so there's more categories. That's what I was looking at doing, is spreading to more categories that make sense. And that way, they're more related. They're in a category. Yeah, they're in a category. It makes sense. You can say, like say for instance here, instead of putting everything under repair and maintenance of buildings, you do have maintenance supplies. You do have, I think there's another one on here that's shop supplies. So you can split those 2 up between your maintenance supplies, your shop supplies, or something like that, for instance, instead of just putting them under repair and maintenance of buildings, because that's just a general category. I think that would help out. But I can see your part of wanting to get further into that category so you can see what it's spent on.
And I think for me, what you're saying would help in some ways, but it never, and unless we can go in and click on it and get down to where you see the check written,
Yep.
you will never really know
Yep.
what we're doing.
Yep.
And I think that's, for me, really frustrating. I don't quite comprehend all of the categories and where they fit in. And then you can never go into that category and really break it down to see where them checks are all being wrote
Yep.
to.
I see exactly, I know exactly what you're saying. So when I started as a manager in this department, it was like, yeah, I got to see where this stuff's going. I want to see it. So then I learned in SAP where I could find it, so that I can bring that up and see, okay, what was all this money spent on? Where's it going? What's it being spent on? And that's how I found that there has been some mistakes where something, say your custodial supplies, something for there is charged into a different category. Well, then it's not reflecting the true category in your custodial supplies, because it's charged over here and say repair and maintenance of the buildings. So I keep looking through there that I want to get it into the right category so the budget looks a lot better. But like I said, for you guys to be able to see that, it would be more beneficial for you. You can see the budget a lot better that way, see where the money's being spent.
And it'd be 3 separate categories for the building supplies. No, I was watching a TV show where they have kids with autism. Hire one of them, they would probably save you more money. If they see things that we don't see.
So that would be a request that we'll have to go to, Mr. Miller and Keith on and, just, cause I have no idea what it would take as far as from that side of how to break that all down if, you know, that's above my pay. But it's a fair question to ask and request.
I'm sure I'm not the only one that would like to see more of that information. Honestly, I don't know how we as supervisors are able to make really informed decisions when we're really, not that I don't trust these guys, but we're supposed to be overseeing where all the money's going, and we don't really see where any of it, we can't break down to see one single check written in our reports.
Sometimes it's so money to get.
Ron, is your mic on?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
they probably just, take some money out of one thing and put it in another, and move it around to where it belongs.
Chuck, I will inquire, is there a reason why we couldn't do like we do at highway where obviously if we're print the voucher list that we have for highway, I'm assuming we can tweak the dollar amounts, but maybe that would help. Because with highway, we basically get to 2 or 3, sometimes depending on how much stuff we buy, but it'll say $350 to Tractor Central. It'll say $122,000 to Mid-States International. Everything that goes on a highway, those guys get a list that gets sent out with the agenda and the minutes in our packet, and then they can ask and they'll say, hey, what's this to DJ's Marts? And then for 18,000, and I can say, well, that's a transport load of fuel. Or Indian Head, well, that's to outfit one of the plow trucks, 77,000 or whatever. But maybe that's a thing that would help you, because then you can look at that list and then you'll see that, okay, we spent.
I think that's exactly what he's asking for.
Yes.
Because on every month, I mean, we can get one $3.17.
Yep.
You know, I mean, every check that's written, and when something weird, I mean, because after a while, the commonality of companies and names, but every once in a while, one will pop up and, well, what's this? You know, and we ask him, and he says, well, that's this, or, you know. So
And I don't want to kill 20 trees just to run a report that you kind of browse through until you see something that jumps out at you. But
well,
with
that's what you're asking for.
Well, with electronics, you can do it. You don't have to print a ton of paper. You can have that report.
Yep.
So
Well, he says, yeah.
Yeah, I send it electronically, and then we have one copy that Marge signs, or Marge prints out, I sign, and Kelly McCullough signs to go in the book. Minutes. But otherwise, they get an electronic version. Sometimes it's 2 pages, sometimes it's 4 pages, but everything is listed on there. I will look into that, because if that's something that we could do, then you could go down the list, and if something jumps out at you, and because like our windshield guy from Colfax, Jeff Prince, some of the small business owners, when they do the automated payment, it'll actually show up as their private name. It won't say like Prince's Auto Glass, because then these guys will say, hey, Jeff Prince, why did he get $350? And then I'll say, well, he's got Prince's Auto Glass, and when it goes through the ACH, that's what it shows up in our system. But they can go through the list and ask me, and they'll say, what's this for, what's that for, what's this? And then, like Chuck says, after a while, you'll know the Tractor Centrals, the Mid-State Internationals, All States, Peterbilt. Those just kind of go with the flow, and you'll say, oh, that's parts, trailers, whatever, but there are some that'll look a little goofy. Switch fuel vendors, the one down in Toma, that cooperative ended up starting to do our fuel bids. So we threw a fourth one into the mix, and that one came up something that was odd that you guys had
Yeah,
never heard of.
unfamiliar name.
And
Yeah.
it was like $18,000, and it was a transporter to transport loads of fuel. And I said, oh, that's part of there was a merger with some co-ops, and they're starting to bid on our fuel. So it all made sense when I explained it. And if there's something that sneaks by me because of how the name shows up on the list, well, then I can do some digging in SAP, and then I'll say, oh, that's what it's the fuel vendor, and that's what the electronic, what it's paying. Should we start there?
I think it would be a good start. And you had another question too?
Yeah, it was more around budgets, because I know we're getting into budget time of year here. And I know that as supervisors, the budgets have to come before the board meeting, and I'm going, last year, I didn't know what I was looking at, to be honest with you. And I've often thought about this, and I go, well, how do I know that this year's budget is much different from last year's budget? Is there any way I can see the budgets for the last 5 years?
And I believe the budget copy you get always has the previous year, sometimes.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
But in a meeting in August, it's solely a budget meeting.
Yeah, I know, but I'd like to be prepared before that meeting.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Well, put in a.
The other thing that I thought about, going, okay, since we are getting into budget time of year, and we have now this carbon-free by 2025 initiative, which leads to our green initiative that we discussed earlier, we need to start thinking about being able to budget money towards this effort that doesn't come out of their budgets to try and, kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul. We gotta have them skimp in this area because we want to do something over here in Lincoln. I think we should have a separate line item to track this. Track what we need to do here. We've got $100,000 for the next 20 years to spend to do the items on this list each year. $100,000 each year. I'm just throwing out a number. I don't know what that would be, but I think to be able, another way to be able to track this and make sure we get it done is to have a separate budget line item for us to be able to complete the things that we have on this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that brings up another question. Where's all this COVID money going that the county's getting? Can we use some of that in areas like this?
To my knowledge, it hasn't been determined where it's going. I mean, that's up for discussion. And part of the issue is as far as what the Treasury, US Treasury hasn't given, it's what you can and what you can't spend it on.
Well, I know that.
It's kind of like the Fed said, here is all this money, and we'll tell you where you can't spend it on later. It's kind of cart ahead of the horse, but that's my understanding.
That's what we heard at the last county board meeting, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I
And
hear.
that's the same thing.
Same thing from, yeah, there hasn't been any definite as to
Because you
where
know,
you can and where you can't.
if we could somehow justify using some of that for some of our little projects, that'd be
Well,
pretty
not
nice.
even those little projects. This came to my mind, and I think I brought it up at the last facilities committee meetings, because, a lot of the reasons why people had to stay home, I won't say, was because of COVID, but it's also because the air handling equipment in the buildings didn't cycle through the air quick enough to be able to collect this stuff. And I'm going, to me, when I heard that, Paul Miller mentioned something about it, all of a sudden a light bulb popped on, and I go, I says, we can tie that directly to upgrading equipment for COVID. So if this stuff does start to open up, I think we need to get our hands in that pot, because I think upgraded air handling equipment to, I don't know if it's putting in HEPA filters. With HEPA filters, you have to have different air cycle. And maybe we have to zone off different areas of the building through air handling and things like that. But I think that to me, it logically made sense that we could do something with air handling that could be tied to that COVID.
Seems to me, I read someplace where schools are looking at that a lot, to use some of that money to improve their ventilation systems. And I would think we'd fit into that.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, everybody wants to get their fingers in that money. All the departments everywhere want to get their fingers on that money, whether it's running utilities or fiber optic or upgrading their departments. So it'd be nice to know when that's coming out, so we can
Get in there
throw our.
first.
Well,
throw our
that
hat in the
would
ring.
be a fair statement to make at the next county board meeting, as far as to make all 29 members aware of, I mean, you don't think about something until you think of it. And so this whole it all takes time. We all cycle and process things differently. And I mean, I agree. What you're saying is 100% spot on, as far as what better way to spend it than to help the facilities, the buildings in which our employees work. I mean, if you are going to, and especially with the uptick in the COVID cases, I thought it was basically behind us, but I think it's coming back. But it's a fair question. It's a good question. Okay, so
I'll see if I can find this spot.
I'll expect that from you. Okay. Any other comments? If not, then the next meeting will be August 25th at this point in time, and we are adjourned. Thank you.